The surprise attack on Pearl Harbor ultimately led Japan to ruin. How did such a brilliant tactical success trigger the destruction of a nation? On December 7, 1941, the Imperial Japanese Navy dealt a devastating blow to the U.S. Pacific Fleet. Four battleships were sunk, and over 2,400 lives were lost. Yet, in truth, this attack harbored structural causes and critical miscalculations that are echoed even today. What exactly were these overlooked pitfalls? In this video, we'll explain why a seemingly perfect operation sowed the seeds of its own failure, who missed what and couldn't stop it, and what lessons we can draw for the modern era. Let's delve into the full scope of the strategic failure that was the Pearl Harbor attack. The main feature will also detail Japan's plight at the time and the United States' reaction. In 1941, Japan was mired in the quagmire of the Second Sino-Japanese War, economically cornered by a U.S. oil embargo. To secure resources, Japan aimed to expand into Southeast Asia, but this meant a full-scale confrontation with the United States. War seemed inevitable. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Commander-in-Chief of the Imperial Japanese Navy's combined fleet, planned to neutralize the U.S. Pacific Fleet to secure a favorable peace in a swift, decisive battle. This was Operation Z, the plan for a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This audacious plan initially met with significant opposition even within the Navy. However, through Yamamoto's strong leadership and meticulous simulations, the plan gradually became a reality. Innovative modified torpedoes were developed, making aerial torpedo attacks possible even in the shallow waters of Pearl Harbor. Rigorous training was conducted repeatedly, and the attack force boasted the highest level of proficiency. Japan staked its national fate on this operation. Everyone believed this surprise attack was the only way to break Japan's predicament and advance negotiations favorably. In the early morning of December 7, 1941, local time, 350 Imperial Japanese Navy aircraft, launched from 6 aircraft carriers, reached the skies over Pearl Harbor. The U.S. Pacific Fleet was caught completely by surprise, and the battleships anchored in the harbor became defenseless targets. The first wave consisted of horizontal bombers, dive bombers, and torpedo planes armed with modified torpedoes, unleashing a ferocious assault. For battleships, Arizona, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and California were sunk or severely damaged. Numerous other vessels also sustained damage. At the airfields, U.S. aircraft were destroyed on the ground, and flames erupted on the runways. The attack was a resounding success. The second wave also achieved significant results, with the surprise attack yielding outcomes far exceeding its operational objectives. The Japanese people erupted in celebration over the victory, as radio bulletins announced, Imperial Navy launches surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. At this point, everyone saw a bright future for Japan and firmly believed this operation would be a historic achievement. So far, everything was going smoothly. However, beneath the surface of this spectacular success, a critical oversight loomed. No U.S. aircraft carriers were present at Pearl Harbor. Aircraft carriers were the linchpin of air power at the time, and the failure to neutralize the absent carrier fleet derailed Japan's long-term strategy. Furthermore, Pearl Harbor's fuel storage facilities, repair docks, and submarine bases remained intact. Their preservation allowed the U.S. Pacific Fleet to rebuild quickly. Yamamoto Isoroku strongly advocated for a second attack, but Commander Mitsuo Fukuda judged that any further attacks would only increase losses and ordered the attack force to return. This decision ultimately preserved U.S. military strength, setting the stage for the devastating blow Japan would suffer months later at the Battle of Midway. Moreover, the delayed notification of the attack led the U.S. to perceive it as a sneak attack, fueling national outrage to a fever pitch. The initial goal of a swift, decisive battle leading to peace was virtually closed off at this point. Japan was dragged into the quagmire of a protracted war. But here, a pitfall no one noticed had opened wide. Japan's military became trapped by the curse of success from Pearl Harbor, clinging to surprise attacks and attrition warfare thereafter. The planners failed to break free from the old naval doctrine centered on battleships, misjudging the crucial importance of aircraft carriers. Between the government and the military, there was no concrete vision for ending the war. Instead, groupthink prevailed, believing that accumulating victories would lead to favorable peace. Even Isoroku Yamamoto, who had prepared for a protracted war and understood the disparity in national power with the US, fell into the sunk cost fallacy, hoping this attack could create a breakthrough. Disregarding American public opinion, a prejudice that East Asians are weak, also skewed their intelligence analysis. Within the military, a closed-off atmosphere dominated, where expressing dissenting opinions could be seen as unpatriotic, stifling any counterarguments. Despite proclaiming air power as the primary force, the Imperial Navy resisted organizational change and could not fully depart from traditional battleship-centric doctrine. Across all layers, politics and military, intelligence analysis and decision-making, long-term perspective and calm objectivity were lost. The day after the Pearl Harbor attack, President Roosevelt addressed Congress, and the United States declared war on Japan, the nation united, transitioning to a total war footing. America's industrial capacity far exceeded Japan's imagination. In a short period, they mass-produced aircraft carriers and aircraft, beginning to overwhelm Japan's military might. The U.S. carrier fleet, untouched at Pearl Harbor, annihilated the main force of the Japanese Navy just 6 months later at the Battle of Midway, completely reversing the course of the war. Supply lines were severed, and resource shortages coupled with exhausted soldiers forced them into one desperate battle after another. Then, in 1945, after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the Soviet entry into the war, Japan surrendered unconditionally. The nation was pushed to the brink of collapse. Pearl Harbor's great success ultimately spiraled into the worst strategic failure that sealed Japan's defeat. The Pearl Harbor attack is a classic example of the curse of victory, where short-term success leads to long-term ruin. Tactical achievements must not be confused with strategic objectives. It teaches us the dangers of groupthink that excludes dissenting opinions, arrogance that misjudges changes in the external environment, and being trapped by sunk costs in organizational decision-making. This video explains why a perfect operation sowed the seeds of failure. It was due to arrogance, intoxicated by short-term tactical success, misreading America's national power and public sentiment. Who missed what and couldn't stop it? It was Isoroku Yamamoto's overconfidence in the battle's outcome, the absence of U.S. carriers, the decision to leave fuel storage facilities intact, and the perception of a sneak attack. Lessons for today include over-reliance on past successes, the exclusion of dissenting opinions within an organization, and the importance of always considering the whole picture and the future, not just immediate results. The quality of decision-making in complex situations will differ significantly between those who understand this failure and those who do not. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button. We release a new history of failure every day.
この失敗は歴史のほんの1ページ。世界にはまだ語られていない失敗が数多くあります。失敗の歴史をチャンネル登録して次の物語もぜひご覧ください。